What if this war was never about what they told you? They told you this was a war, but nothing about it makes sense. What you think is happening isn't what's actually happening. The Strait of Hormuz, control, and the push for green energy all seem to go hand in hand. And when you start to connect the dots, it all begins to come together. What this is really about is manufactured chaos and control.
The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night.
This is being used to usher in Agenda 2030, to dismantle oil, push electric vehicles, and introduce CBDCs, universal basic income, tokenization, and trackable, programmable money. Add in energy restrictions, localized movement, 15-minute cities, and suddenly, this Iran war starts to look like something else entirely. Because real wars escalate, they don't stall out right at the edge. They don't carefully avoid total collapse. They don't drag on like this unless they're meant to. Look at what's actually being targeted. Not just military bases, not just cities, energy. South Pars, the largest gas field on Earth. Pipelines, refineries, export terminals. Across Iran, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, entire systems. Saudi output dropping from 10 million barrels a day to nearly half. Global oil flows cut in half. That's not normal war damage. That's system disruption. Because when you hit energy, you're not just hitting a country. You're hitting everything. Food, transport, supply chains, daily life. You're hitting the system people depend on to survive. So now ask yourself, why does this war look like this? Why target the one thing the entire world runs on? Why not just end it? Why stretch it out? Unless that's the point. What if the real motive isn't what you think? What if it's deeper, more nefarious? What if we're fighting a war for someone else? What if the cause isn't Iran at all, but something bigger? What if this is about a greater Israel? And what if the United States isn't leading this war, but being pulled into it? Does this start to feel familiar? Like Iraq 2.0, where we were told there was weapons of mass destruction, told there was a threat, but the proof never came? What if this war isn't what they told you it is? This isn't chaos. It's a slow, deliberate game of attrition. Not meant to shock you all at once, but to wear everything down. Systems, economies, people, until instability becomes normal, until pressure becomes expected, until resistance fades. And that's what makes it dangerous, because of how insidious it really is. It doesn't hit all at once. It doesn't feel like something is being taken away from you. It feels gradual, subtle, even necessary. Like the world is changing and you're just adapting to it, step by step, until you stop questioning it entirely. Because once that happens, everything else becomes easier to change. Energy becomes unstable, so alternatives get pushed. Not gradually, aggressively. Green energy, electric vehicles, not because people demanded it, but because the system made it unavoidable. And when energy breaks, the economy follows. Prices rise, shortages begin, uncertainty spreads, and that's when the next shift happens. People stop asking questions and start asking for solutions. Digital currencies, programmable money, systems that don't just move money, but track it, control it, restrict it. Not introduced as control, but as stability. Because in times of stability, people resist change, but in times of uncertainty, they accept almost anything. And that's how an insidious system takes hold. Movement becomes more localized, energy becomes more restricted, systems become tighter, more structured, more controlled. And by that point, it feels normal. And now you see it, not chaos, control, not destruction, transition, not a breakdown, a replacement. Because this was never just about Iran. It's about what comes after, what replaces the system and what takes its place. So the question isn't who wins this war. The question is what changes because of it. Because if this really is a game of attrition, if it really is this insidious, then what you're watching right now isn't just conflict, it's transformation. By the time people realize what this was, it won't be called a war anymore. It'll just be the way the world works. If this made you think differently, like, share, and subscribe. Think dangerously, because most people won't see this coming. And remember, you're either the lion or the sheep.